All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
My Villain Academia, Season 5, Episode 21. I mean, technically, it's, the second episode of My Villain Academia, but you know what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Shit's about to go down.
Yeah, we have got a classic open world video game situation where we have our squad of 6 villains who have an impossible situation in front of them where they're getting leveraged basically just their end against them going to a specific location and basically saying, let's see what you're actually worth. And that seems to be the point of this, is Shigaraki, what's your worth? Who are you? What do you want? And how the rest of the characters get utilized in this arc where Shigaraki is kind of the new main character here is exciting. I do like, though, that Dabi is actually moving to the side of things here.
Yes.
Because it's almost like a thing of, no. Dabi has his own plot line, Like,
that might not be in line with Shigaraki's interests.
Or it's not that it's not in line with it, but it's separate. It's moving maybe a little bit quicker.
That too. Yeah.
It's something where Dabi could probably make a move whenever he wants.
Oh yeah.
It's just he probably needs to set some things up.
Yeah, it's just choosing specifics.
Yeah.
But with Shigaraki, they're going to rescue a friend.
Yeah. And Gigantomachia is going to get kited or transmitted.
Warped in and be their wrecking ball. Cool.
You know what's crazy, though, is I don't know how big of a teleporting, kind of thing that they can, move with that Nomu.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there's nothing that says necessarily that you have to teleport him at ground level.
That's true.
And literally drop him.
Yeah.
It takes a very short amount of time to reach terminal velocity.
Yep.
I'll tell you that.
Oh, boy.
So, y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion. All right.
Okay. That was an episode.
This gave us a lot. So straight up, right out the bat, Toga. Toga was the main character this episode.
Yep.
I like the idea of this being the structure of maybe episodes going forward, where we've got the villains, the League of Villains, and their little band, their club, as they were called, just split up because there's no way they can hold everything all together and use their quirks freely, especially for someone like Dabi or Shigaraki.
And a cool way to make it so that there's still conflict in this fight and everything is that
they're not necessarily wanting to kill them. Sorry, go ahead.
Or that Gigantomachia is going to take time to wake up, and the timeline that they were given for come here within an hour or whatever, that doesn't quite line up with it. So he's still sleeping, right?
Yeah, so they probably planned around that after watching the League of Villains, and we're like, okay, cool, so now we don't have to deal with it. We thought that what was going to happen was they were going to transmit him here. Now,
with
the thing is,
teleporting or whatever.
They might still do that.
Right,
but
as soon as he wakes up,
It doesn't matter if, when they do it, if he's over here, if he's not awake, basically.
Right.
They need a situation as to where he's actually going to chase Shigaraki.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, if that ends up happening, then that's sweet. Because from the Hero Society standpoint, if their whole army is grouped into one city area, and this is where
an overwhelming majority of it.
Yeah.
Then 70% maybe.
Right. But either way, if it's not like if it's not a bunch of cells of the organization across Japan, but they're for the most part congregated here, and then suddenly you drop a kaiju on this area. That's going to be a lot of their forces that get destroyed.
Yeah, thousands will die. Thousands.
Just to basically get Shigaraki and the League of Villains on their side.
Well, no, that's the weird thing, is that they end up on the same side.
Right.
But with the way this is going out here, their philosophies with regards to Shigaraki, at the very least, don't seem to align.
Right.
And so they're wanting to destroy them. But the individual members of the League of Villains, a lot of them are actually being coaxed towards the side of the Meta Liberation Army.
Even if it's not successful so far with being won over to the side, we know that after this, they end up being a part of the Meta Liberation Army and being fairly compliant from what it seems.
Both sides win?
I think it's something where both sides win, where basically they beat each other bloody enough that the League of Villains is able to garner the respect of, you take us seriously, you can't just subsume us, right? And then the Meta Liberation Army is like, okay, and
maybe they lose enough that they go,
that they're willing to
parlay.
Let's parlay. Let's coordinate as equals rather than like us just trying to crush you. Yeah,
because what I think is very clear here is that the League of Villains cannot win in any way, shape, or manner.
Nope, 6 against 116,000 or whatever. Yeah. It's not going to work.
Except, if they want to win, it seems like what they'll have to do is just literally get guns, just pop, pop, just from range, because there is no way they're beating
Dabi.
Shigaraki.
Shigaraki too, but I feel like especially Dabi.
But Shigaraki was decaying people without touching them.
Yep. Okay.
I think everyone loses if Shigaraki can decay things without touching.
Well, I think it was something where it was a connective. Well, no, right, but I think it was a connective thing. So like they were touching someone that was touching someone that was touching him, kind of a thing, because they were all very tightly put together. But yeah.
But I want to throw out an idea here. What if he was actually touching them, but it's not that it's exactly like you're saying, but it's not that they were necessarily touching each other, but it's that they were touching the ground.
Sure.
And he just touched one that's touching the ground, so the ground is going to take a lot longer to decay than a human fleshy meat sack. You know?
Sure. Or the chunks and pieces when he swipes his hand through them. Get touched, flying and
then continued the decaying effect.
Right, because one of the things that I really liked about how this worked, because in season 1, when Shigaraki shows up for the first time and he uses his power and everything, and it's terrifying, right?
Yeah, because Aizawa is kind of hard countered by it in a weird way.
Well, yeah, right. They kind of hard counter each other. Or he hard countered Shigaraki, but then Shigaraki had the Nomu and stuff, and that took out Aizawa, right? But the idea of like, okay, cool, it's a guaranteed eventual death for whoever he touches, but the speed of it really seemed to be the problem, because one, you have to actually touch them in melee, but if you have to keep your hand on them for a decent amount of time before they die, that's not going to be very effective in a fight.
Just a basic super strength person can tough out the pain, grab your wrist, and spin you around, and you're dead.
Flick you, and you turn into a meat sack, right? And that's something that I did appreciate, that they kept reinforced here when Toga, in her crazy Uraraka state, dropped all the people, is that, they're dead, because of course they are. Physics. Unless there's some kind of physical enhancing quirk or whatever, they are dead. Like, that's how it works. They were 70 feet up. They don't survive that,
Concrete.
Right? Yeah, you're done, right? Even water, you'd be dead.
Even if they don't die, their spines are broken, their legs are broken.
They will die soon.
They are not going to be a problem for Toga. They will not be able to chase her.
Right.
Like, that moment when...
That was awesome.
Well, we'll talk about the character stuff here, but like the highlight moment of the episode in terms of the rule of cool was the Shigaraki decay AoE, but also Toga
Chaco.
The split faces and looking at all this and being like, yes, and because
one of the things, like when this episode, like over the course of this episode, my excitement for what was going on changed dramatically.
Sure.
Because at first, going into this episode, I thought they were just going to open up with Gigantomachia, so I was a little bit like, okay. All right. Yeah. Well, but there was also this idea of, I don't know these people that they're fighting, so how do I actually care about these fights, right? Things like with Toga, for instance, it's like, Toga's fighting, but why is she actually a strong fighter? Because she just sucks the blood and then makes herself look different. It's like,
well, she's not a strong fighter. She's getting her ass beat, but they're not wanting to kill her.
Yep.
They're specifically being like, just stop running, stop fighting, and let's conduct this interview.
Right.
I'm going to use your insanity as a blueprint to show the world that this society cannot work.
Which is great, because it's kind of like a it's almost poetic in the way that they're trying to basically do a dissection of her. Right?
Literally,
but socially,
let's extract the blood, the essence of her.
Yeah, which is the one thing that like that's what she's all about, right?
Yeah.
But it's also the one area where if we would get to see, is she actually emotionally vulnerable in this situation? Because like she seems to really enjoy her brand of crazy, right?
Yes.
And yet their words seem to be hurting her a lot more than the explosions.
Yeah.
You know, like, so that was really fun to get into.
To remember the points maybe at which she rejected.
Right, because
the aspect of herself that enjoyed all this.
She put on the mask for a reason. From what we can gather, it seemed like the sucking of the blood was an accident of sorts where she was actively trying to actually keep that mask up, right?
But then she started as a kid.
Right, she started as a kid, and then she basically got told, no,
like
that's
slapped away. Don't do that.
Don't do that, right?
Yeah.
Which I love as a situation of just a visceral way to show that
it's so normal in a way.
Right, yeah, because it's the kid that does something that they're not supposed to.
They have no grid for it.
Right, they have no grid for it, right? They
take a hammer and bonk the other kid's head. And
right.
It's like, no, don't do that. Don't hurt some other kid. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. But in this situation there's a biological like element that is driving her towards this, right?
Right.
And so eventually the mask breaks.
Yeah.
Right? You know, and when that happens, I'm guessing it was something where it's I guess I'm embracing this now.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
like
I enjoyed this so much that it made me want to cry because I'm finally free.
Yeah. Right. And it must just be the world that's crazy because why was I wearing that mask this entire time?
There's a couple stories in fiction that get into this idea of taking something that is a fundamental aspect of society and someone takes it and thus this society of suppression, which is usually a religious one, kind of comes in and goes, no, this thing is bad.
Sure.
And with women, it's been like sex lives and stuff like that. Like, no. Your sexuality is something that only men control.
Right, or like, it makes me think of like what was that movie, Dirty Dancing or whatever, where it's like, ooh, you know, or Footloose, you know, or like...
this is basically dark Footloose.
Right, because it's well, what do you do when it's something...
I mean, not really, but you get what we're getting at, right?
But the essence of Toga's story, and yet that's why it totally makes sense for her to be crazy, because it's a bit harder to reconcile sucking someone's blood and potentially killing them than dancing. You know,
exactly.
Right? Like
for us as human beings that aren't vampires, basically, that's a harder thing to
both are forms of self-expression, basically,
right.
but one inherently harms the freedom and lives of other people around you,
well,
right?
Yeah, not necessarily, though, because vampire stories are not original anymore.
No, totally.
There are many ways in which that can happen, but she was actively told to suppress that.
Well, right. There are ways that Toga could exist in this world.
Absolutely.
Without like killing people and stuff, you know, basically she'd need to get one or several people that are partners that they set up very good boundaries with regarding how this whole thing would work.
Well, right. Mm-hmm. But like that's the thing that I really love about this is that Toga is the crux of this because of her story, not because of her quirk.
Right.
This is the point I think that's really interesting to bring about is that all the quirks of the League of Villains could be used for something that helps the society as it is. But their stories and the way that they were brought to this place is probably the thing that's really holding them back. Toga's is the one that makes the most sense as like, how do you reconcile this one? Yeah. But there are ways in which you could do this. Blood donations are a real thing. Mm-hmm. Like that is not a thing that people are necessarily in short supply of, or society is in short supply of.
You could find out ways to get it, right? Yeah. But the thing is that society didn't accept that, you know. And
the parents,
that
parents
too
are responsible. This is a thing that I believe is a world building aspect, that they are responsible to go to the doctors and get their kid's quirk essentially registered, which is its own kind of creepy thing. But that's a part of this society here.
Right.
If they had done that, they would have been like, okay, here's the thing. Your daughter does have a quirk that is a bit disturbing if you look at it that way.
Yep.
So what we're going to do is we're going to help teach you and guide you in some ways in which you can talk with your daughter about how her quirk is actually not a negative thing.
Right.
This is how we can form a cushion, essentially, for the hard impact that will happen when she meets other people who might judge her for her quirk.
It's the Professor X thing, right?
It's
you need the X-Men school, but the thing is that this is a bit more complicated of a situation, right?
Because they didn't necessarily do anything with that.
Well, and what's something else that's kind of, potentially interesting to think about.
Yeah.
While it is possible that her situation is the same as Shigaraki's, where the quirk appears out of nowhere, what's more likely is that it's actually sort of an amalgamation of both the parents' quirks, just manifesting in a different way.
Yeah.
And the parents, even with all of that, were saying, no, don't, right?
Yeah.
Now, granted, it was probably some new combination. Maybe one of them had some kind of blood powers, the other one had mimicking powers or something like that, and they combined into sort of vampirism, mimicking, all that stuff, right?
Yep.
But
the psychological aspect, I'll bet you that was more because of the idea of being told no, 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 no.
oh, sure.
And then there was the elation combined with
Right.
the freedom of finally being able to use your
Yeah,
quirk.
because children being told no when they want to do something, that's nothing new.
That's
right?
nothing new,
That's
no.
nothing new, right? And that's why, and this is maybe going a bit hard onto this stuff, but
Yeah.
but that's why when you grow up, you have to cast off the restraints and everything of the parents, so that even if you end up taking up some of those same mentalities and ideals as your parents, it's truly your decision, not just their decision, right?
Yep.
And then in this situation, it's the no, still being constricted to that, and then suddenly you decide to break it, right? Go against what they say, and you actually end up getting both incredibly rewarded for it because, oh, the blood tastes so
Feels
good.
so good, yeah.
Right, but then at the same time,
All of the society,
all
the
of
world and
society then
everything
turns on you.
demonizes yeah.
And now, well, you've kind of been shoved out into the cold, and now
What do you do?
You better just enjoy the one positive thing. At least I got chicken out of it because that's all you have.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
So yeah, at that point, what choice did she have?
Yep.
I really like, though, that this focus came in combination with the idea that the characters involved in the fight weren't trying to kill her, but they nearly did.
sent explosive blood into her body.
Yeah.
Like, they are very lucky. Like, Toga is very lucky that that the lady specifically said, like, the explosions aren't that powerful, but quantity over quality, right?
Right,
Because
She's
even
bleeding.
Kira Yoshikage never did anything like that. Like,
Yeah, well, yeah. In a lot of ways, comparing her to Kira Yoshikage is just unfair. In
I know.
way there.
Yeah,
but yes,
already
yes,
touched this blood.
This is absolutely a JoJo's reference. But
Yeah.
but the point where she stumbles, finds her way into the shed to where she can basically hide until she can recover, maybe. But then twice finds her, and
oh man.
I love this because there's something so weirdly fascinating about the fact that Twice needs people in some ways just as much as he needs his mask.
Right. Because
it's really fascinating because he seems the most human.
oh yeah,
Of
he totally
all
does.
the League of Villains.
Yeah, like it's no surprise, I don't think, to any of you watching, why Twice has been our absolute favorite with regards to the things that we've gotten so far with the League of Villains, right?
Other than Shigaraki.
Yeah, and then I would say it's more for it's easy to say
Entertainment,
Shigaraki because
yeah.
entertainment and main character of the villains and all that stuff, and
Right.
But this scene where he catches up to her like that. God, and the two different voices, they're all saying the different things, but are still kind of going along the same lines.
Yeah.
As he's just realizing, oh shit, she might be dead.
Yeah.
Why is she so cold? Why is the blood so warm? You know, like that.
The only one who needed this failed human being.
Right.
And then you start to hear the anger come out, and he's like, "Damn it,
Yeah.
I'll kill them. And I love the idea that Twice in the next episode
is going to go off.
is going to go off, but the thing is that his mask is going to get forcibly taken from
Oh,
him.
I think it's going to be forcibly taken off, and
Well,
then,
I mean, we see it literally. get
right.
forcibly
Yeah,
taken
that's
off.
how it ends, right? But
Yeah.
Twice is this wonderful situation where we've basically been given the power limiter that's been self-imposed this
Yes.
entire time, and yet we don't really think about it, right?
We don't think about it at all.
Because okay, yeah, having it be limited to just one instance, one copy at a time, right? It's like, yeah, that's a good power mechanic limiter, because otherwise that'd be too busted. Well,
But we realize that's not actually the
Right.
limits of his power.
Right.
That was just what kept him
sane.
sane.
Right, because otherwise, how do you know which one's real?
Right.
And here he has basically had some hashtag mind breaker, stuff happen to him, right? So he's
Triple
going
vulnerability to psychic damage.
right. So he's going to embrace the mind break, I'm guessing, and
Or otherwise
because he's already there.
He'll shatter,
Right, exactly. So this is something where like seeing moments with characters where someone really close to them gets hurt, and especially if they have some kind of power that is like sanity, like makes sanity a bit of a fuzzy line,
Specifically, Toga and Twice are the perfect examples.
Right, perfect examples of this, right?
Yeah.
But like you see, I've seen that in other stories. But when they embrace that like other side of themselves
together also.
Well, sure, but there usually doesn't end up being any consequence for when it's the all right, because of anger and an emotionally distressing situation that gets unleashed, and then I beat whatever conflict.
And then I reset back to zero.
But then I reset back to zero.
Yeah.
And it can be great, powerful moments and everything, and I love it when it happens. But in this situation, I don't think there necessarily will be a resetting back to zero.
We see Twice after this, later, so he's fine.
Right, so he is fine to a degree, but the thing is that he wasn't really fine in the first place anyways.
Yeah, exactly. So what will be his new fine, maybe?
The Twice that we see in the future might not be the same Twice that we've known. Mm-hmm. It might be a completely different one. Who's to say?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that as a like way to just sell the stakes of what's going on and how terrible of a thing is about to happen.
Yeah. It's not necessarily his sanity. It could be things like his memories. It could be things like his ability to have a second voice, maybe.
Right.
Like he might finally collapse into one.
Sure.
Never really to even be capable of that again.
Right. Like the Twice that we have now, statistically, unless there's some difference in how his quirks works or whatever, is probably not the original. Mm-hmm. Right. And that's that whole
most
bit,
likely.
That whole bit way back when, I can't remember when it happened, but where we got the Twice backstory. End of
season 4, I believe.
Gotcha. Yeah. Like that was real good stuff. That was awesome.
Or it was the end of season 3.
I'm not sure.
I think it was the end of season 3 because it cued into the overhaul introduction in season 4.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. That's what it was. Yeah.
It was after the Bakugo Deku
fight. Yeah. Yeah. But like, so now This went from something where it's like, okay, we know the League of Villains is going to be more or less okay, right? So where do the stakes come from? Oh, emotional backstory and growth and things like that. Cool.
Yeah.
But this is like not just emotional growth in that Twice is being vulnerable with how much he cares about Toga, but also some scars might be inflicted and permanently added today. That
classic MHA style too.
Right,
not
exactly.
Just the ones that are on your skin.
Yes.
Okay. Dabi has an elemental fight, which is cool because that potentially is a fun little visual foreshadowing of a Todoroki fight in the future. Mm-hmm. Dabi is experiencing the effects of sleep deprivation. And was
that Dabi or Shigaraki?
Did I say Dabi? I meant to say Shigaraki. Yeah, sorry. Mm-hmm. Shigaraki. I'm experiencing sleep deprivation. But Shigaraki experiencing sleep deprivation to the point where his quirk just might be
like unlocking its next level kind of a thing, because he like all mental limiters are off kind of.
Yeah.
He's just sort of in a daze.
I really like the visuals that they used for this of him being like, wow, it's like everything is moving, but it's not supposed to be. And then sounds aren't there and stuff. I've totally been like this where I've stayed up like
way
a
too
full day, without sleeping, and then into the next day, and then a little bit into the next night. And what starts to happen is that the walls basically start to do this kind of thing, and it's just like, oh, I should sleep,
right.
Oh, okay. But Shigaraki's not gonna sleep. In fact, he almost can't. In a weird way, he's the one that's under the most danger here, because he's their leader,
right? Cut off the head kind of a thing.
So they're probably trying to kill him, but if Shigaraki is just laying waste to probably hundreds at this point, at what point does Shigaraki stop? Like,
right.
Because Gigantomachia could show up, cause a big impact crater,
rage around for
the town.
But he's going to be going after Shigaraki.
Still going to have to deal with him.
Yep. I'm guessing the way that Shigaraki would maybe be a little bit more okay is if the Meta Liberation Army realizes that Gigantomachia just wrecking shit is doing more damage than Shigaraki. So then they're like, okay, we actually need to fight Gigantomachia for Shigaraki, basically.
Sure.
Because we need to contain the situation, right? You know, this is, you know, big, densely packed army, mass AoEs getting
They're in a
unleashed,
tower.
right? Like, yeah.
I'll just say a tower is not the kind of thing you want to be in an environment where Gigantomachia is going to show up and just start running in random directions.
Right, even if he doesn't smash into the tower directly, like just the ground being destabilized in the way that it would, like,
Yep.
right. So, and if Shigaraki is fast, which he's shown to be, he could lead Gigantomachia wherever he wants.
Yeah.
You know, so I could see it being something where even though Shigaraki isn't physically capable himself of making Gigantomachia submit, Shigaraki can kind of indirectly puppeteer the Meta Liberation Front to help him with Gigantomachia.
Sure.
And then as long as he kind of takes credit for it with the big boy, then
What if they have to kill Gigantomachia?
that would be crazy.
Because that's the thing, is that making him submit is probably the best result for Shigaraki.
Yep.
But what if it's a thing of where it's like, no, submit in a way, standing on top his dead corpse would suffice as submission.
Right. Takes a
Essentially.
selfie and sends it to the doctor. Yeah.
But he's a like fanatically loyal servant of All for One, and he's not young necessarily.
Nope.
So
Yeah.
he could be one that would be very valuable to have alive.
Oh, yeah.
But how do you keep something like him around?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to be very careful. Like,
Yeah.
it very
So-
much feels like one of the giants from One Piece or something like that, where it's like, yes, if we need to have a big fight, we have this unit who is a unit, but is also like just a siege machine, basically.
Baby oars or something.
Yeah.
But okay, all right. Just crazy shit. And also, if they do this, like with like the next episode on other members of the League of Villains, please do it on some of the characters that haven't gotten like any characterization thus far.
I would love to
Please
see
do
this
it.
with Spinner.
Spinner specifically, but Compress as well. I feel like he's the one that is the most sane of all of them. Like,
Yeah.
he has...
Now that Kurogiri's gone.
Yeah, of all 6 of them, he seems like the one that has very little reason to be here motivation-wise. Like, we don't know...
Yeah,
Like-
from what we've seen, he appears to be more of just like a showman. You know,
Yeah.
where it's
he's
like
having
this is
a good time.
right. This is his stage, but
But why are you here? Why not on another stage?
right?
So,
Because some people that are here, like Spinner, might be having second thoughts about all this. So.
yeah. And, seeing...
Twice is having second, third, and fourth and fifth thoughts. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry.
That was good. I was just like, why are we talking about twice? Oh, I get it. Yeah. That's good. That's good. But yeah, y'all. Thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the full-length timer version of the reaction, go check out the link in the description below. For our Patreon, you can get on any level support there gets you access to our Discord, so you can chat with us and the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see there. Until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all
Next time.